Welcome back to this episode of Paranormal Lens. Today, we look at rituals
Rituals?
through a paranormal lens.
Uh, Why?
Welcome to our podcast where we take deep dives.
Looking at various topics through a paranormal lens.
Okay, so, oh God, you said?
Did
Which
I?
one? Which God are you calling out to now?
The
On this?
Santa God.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
No, we left that in 2025, Angela.
I'm joking.
But this is a good, follow-up to that one because we ended that episode on Do Not Summon Santa. And we don't like the summoning of anything, including Santa. So let's just reestablish, because here's the thing. I feel like that differentiates us from other. I never like calling us a paranormal team or whatever, but
We
as
I mean,
as
but
a
that's what we are.
sure, yeah, as a team, as a group, we have different opinions on a lot of things because I think all of us are under the belief, and correct me if I'm wrong, but most things in this field aren't like a yes or no answer. Like there's a lot of nuance to most things, and that's why we talk for 40 minutes about cheese and owls, right? Because we
Yeah.
find nuance in things. So we should have these like touch bases at the start of each year or so. We don't need to do this every January, but um, maybe every November for the November fans. We should touch base on certain things and see how our opinions evolve and change. Because that's another thing about the paranormal is our opinions and our perspectives on things are going to change over the course of this podcast, even a month from now, even when this episode airs. We might have different perspectives or opinions that we're like, I wish I said this instead. I don't agree with this anymore. Things are always changing, and that's a good thing because be wary of the people that are condescending narcissists, and there's a lot of them in the field that try to say this is how it is, or this is how it's always been, or this is how it will always be, because things are always changing. So we should touch base on things. Today we're touching base on the topic of rituals.
You did it again.
Ah, yes, rituals. I'm very experienced with these sort of things.
Are you?
No.
What kind of demon was that?
That is in fact my dog being a butt. Oh no.
Let's just start with the things I think we agree with on the topic of rituals, and we'll just kind of diverge after like a couple things, I think. So,
Yeah.
do we agree that 99.9% of the time, when we're on an investigation, the investigations we do at least, there is no need for a ritual?
True.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Do we also agree that 99.9% of the time, because here's the thing is some people say all ghosts are demons, right? Some people say there's no such thing as human ghosts. I say I don't believe in intelligent hauntings, but I believe even if it's residual, we should still approach it with the perspective of we're talking to a human, because even if we're engaging with memories, it's still human memories, you know what I mean? So we should talk to it as people, and
Mm-hmm.
there's no
As
place for
us,
a ritual. So do we agree that most of the time we're engaging with human hauntings, or do we think it's all demons trying to trick us?
I think a good
you never know.
heavy proportion is
People.
human
Yeah.
to whether it is like the physical consciousness of a human or an impression of
Yeah,
someone who was alive at one point. I feel like very rarely we come across like I don't only few times we've come across something that is not.
Well, we have questioned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and that's all I was trying to get at. It's like even
Mm-hmm.
residual, I would say is human.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Just to keep it simple of human versus not human.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, but still, I mean, we've done hundreds of investigations literally that are documented. We had the web
Mm-hmm.
series for many years. Literally, I think it is 1 out of 100 you
Mm,
know, investigations you would say is like, so that's like 99% are human, 1%
yeah.
is not. Angela, what do you think? And it's okay that you can have a completely different opinion. That's a good
No,
thing.
I think most of the time whatever we are communicating with is human or people, whatever. But I mean, you never know. You not like you can see what you are talking to or trying to find. So, I mean, there's no proof that whatever we are talking to is human or
Yeah.
was human exactly.
That is true. That is true.
So I can't say 99% of the time. Maybe 99% of the time we think it is humans, but maybe it could be 50-50. I don't know. You'll never know.
Well,
Eh.
okay, so I'm gonna ask this next question, but then it's gonna come back to respond to this, okay? This is my last question. Would you agree or disagree that in that 1 out of 100 times when it's like something demonic or something very ancient and elemental, right?
Yeah.
And just inhuman.
Inhuman, sure. Do you agree or disagree that like just going up to this inhuman entity and be like, "Hi, my name is Ben. What's your name?" Like the traditional like ghost hunting that you use with like a human. Do you
Mhm.
agree or disagree that in those cases, using a different framework of understanding or a different approach, including but not limited to a ritual, in those cases is necessary because the lens that you use of, "Hi, my name is Ben. What's your name, demon?" is not probably going to get the same results or at least not work in the same way as, you know, I think, because I think it's like different frameworks of,
Mm-hmm.
you know, you're talking to a ghost versus this is a different territory here, you know, like different tools needed for the different job. That's just my belief. I'm curious what do you guys think on that.
I don't think it's
I don't
I
think.
tend to lean more towards disagreeing. Like I feel like if you do have some sort of interaction with something that is inhuman and you already have that established interaction, like I don't feel there's a need to change what you're doing or like incorporate a ritual
I
when you
don't.
already
Yeah.
have that base communication.
Yeah, I
I
was
don't
gonna say,
know.
I don't think it really, rituals are ever really necessarily
I don't think they're
needed.
yeah, exactly.
I mean, I like doing rituals because I think it can open more gateways to
Mhm.
understanding certain things, especially if whatever you are talking to is unhuman. I want to know more about it. But also, it also depends on if that's your thing to do. I mean, not everyone wants to do a ritual. And then it also depends on if that's a regular part of your practicing, you
Yeah.
know?
I guess, okay,
'Cause-
so
yeah.
what do you, firstly, what I was getting, why it was going to connect is because I was going to ask, you know, instead of 99.9% of the time, human is another way to phrase it. 99.9% of the time, the traditional i- interaction that we're used to, the paranormal framework applies. Um, but what do you guys define as a ritual? Because technically, if you just look it up, a ritual is just a ceremony consisting of specific actions that have prescribed meaning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Hmm.
doesn't mean you're summoning something or conjuring
Yeah, I was
something.
gonna say
Yeah.
So,
rituals
so,
aren't always for
Yeah. I
summoning
mean,
so
someone could
something.
what's
argue that using a spirit box to a sense is a ritual, or ghost hunting in general
exactly? So
is.
that's why I'm
I've
just
heard that
asking
before.
because I don't think I even have a definition myself. So like, what's
It's a
the
range.
hesitation? So if there's ever an instance of like, hey guys, what we're dealing with here, I don't think a simple pull to spirit box is going to get us the answers we need. Let's do a ritual. What would what would be the ideal things that consists of, if anything? And what are the hard cutoffs of that's no longer a ritual, that's something we're not okay with?
Well, it depends on each person.
Yeah.
That's why I'm
Well, I think
asking
that's why
each
he's
person.
asking.
Yeah, yeah.
What about you, Ben? What are your
So
like
so for me, okay, so the best way, and I know I mentioned this off air, but the best way for me to like explain this is through a actual case study we've done, right? We have done a couple rituals. We have, well, more than a couple. We've done a couple on camera before, as part of major works that have, turned into films and screens. So people know a couple rituals and are very familiar with a couple rituals we've done. So those are
And
some
how
I'll
we
pull
do
from.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So one of them was for the film Dweller, which did the film festival circuit last year, won Best TV New Media Feature in the Midwest WeirdFest in last March. In that film, we did a deep dive on the ancient occult topic of the dweller or guardian on the threshold, which is essentially just a metaphor, telling of this entity on the threshold between realms, kind of like not kind of, literally a guardian between this plane and the next. And it's kind of a metaphor for the things that kind of stop you and prevent you from moving forward. The kind of like a signpost of, hey, stop and reassess what's going on and make some necessary changes or turn away and don't proceed. So it's kind of like a quote framework, an entity that's more a metaphorical sort of look at what's going on and reassess type of thing. That led to a series of rituals that we were involved in, um, that were summoning this entity to a haunted location in order to interact with it. It was no longer at that point a framework to understand what's going on. Because that's the thing, the dweller and much of these frameworks are really just there to understand what's happening around you, right? Kind of like tarot. There's nothing inherently evil about tarot. You look at the symbols and archetypes and utilize it to help understand what's going on around you if you do a tarot spread. I view rituals much like I view, like, if you were like, hey, let's do a tarot spread about what's going on here, right? Let's pull some cards. That's not bringing anything there. That's not summoning. That's not conjuring. That's using these frameworks, these ideas, these symbols, right? If you do a tarot spread and you look up, oh, this card has this symbol on it, that means this, and this. Let's lean into that and kind of shift our perspective on understanding this, because a lot of the time dealing with these ancient things are going to respond in ancient symbols and
Hmm.
metaphors and stuff. So if you look at it as what's the bigger picture, what are these metaphors? And if you lean into it further and you want to set up when you do your spirit box session, let's say you pull the Fool card doing your tarot spread. Maybe use some matches with the Fool tarot deck on it. Maybe light a candle with the Fool tarot deck, or on the candle itself. They sell those, and we have some of like tarot cards on the candles, right?
Hmm.
Maybe lean into some of the imagery that's on the tarot card that you pull. Like that's what I view as like a ritual of leaning into these archetypes and leaning into these symbols to kind of use that as like a language to reach out to what's already there.
Yeah,
If
I think.
if if that is something that's not a human spirit. Because if you
Hmm.
go up to your dead Aunt Jane or whatever that's said to haunt your old family barn, Aunt Jane isn't going to know anything about uh, the fool's journey, so
I I think it's not just also using things that represent what you're trying to do. It's also the mindset that goes along with it
yeah.
too.
It's the mindset and the intention of what you're
Intention, yeah,
trying to
mindset,
do.
intention.
Yeah.
Because
I think,
I don't think people understand and understand mindset is a
Mhm.
big thing. There's it's not necessarily also like a bunch of woo-woo shit either. It's very scientific, like your thinking can um what's the influence what happens afterwards.
and that's why, like, you can't even if you're like everything needs a ritual, you can't do a ritual every day or every two
I mean, you
investigations.
could.
But it no, I genuinely don't think that that would be effective.
No,
because it
I
needs
mean,
to
I
be
don't think it'd
something
be
special.
effective.
It needs to be, it's kind of like if you study like tarot or, these old frameworks and archetypes, it's kind of like a muscle you should keep working on, and whether or not that transcribes or transpires into, you do a ritual if this situation calls for it, or you do a tarot spread. I don't think it really matters because I kind of view them as the same. And I also view a ritual as a great narrative device to frame, it is a form of storytelling and it frames a piece of work nicely. Where I am weary is there's two things I don't like, and we've done many rituals and we've taken part in many rituals done by many people. This isn't talking about one or even two
Mm-hmm.
or three or four people. This is talking about
Yeah.
many people. We've done good rituals. Most of them are just meh, okay, cool. You lit your candles, okay.
Yeah, nothing
And
much happens. Yeah.
and we've taken part in some bad rituals. The bad rituals were always the ones where it's like the person leading it didn't explain anything. They didn't know what the heck they were talking
There
about.
was no good planning.
No good planning, and this is not
Yeah.
singling any one or two or three people out. This is many people, and
Yeah.
it's just people in, that's why I says it's kind of like a muscle. With like ChatGPT, there's so many like accounts that are like, this is I'm gonna call out to this god, and I'm gonna summon this god here to help me with this ritual. And they just got info from ChatGPT. You pick up any two occult books or witchy books, we've done this, and a lot of the opinions on if things are good or bad are actually quite nuanced. So if someone says, I'm going to call out to this thing, I'm going to summon this thing, call it a god, call it an entity, if they summon something there to aid in their ritual, I would like to know why and where they got the information from.
Hmm.
And what their thought
Explain,
process
yeah,
is.
explain
What
why.
do these
Because,
entities represent?
Yeah.
Like,
yes,
why
and
are we
also,
using them?
and also understand not only why are you using it, why wouldn't someone want to use it? Because there's a dual perspective for most things when you're dealing with calling on these entities and these deities. So I don't like in general summoning anything or calling out to anything or bringing anything that's not already there to the location. So when the Dweller on the Threshold, for example, stopped being a concept and started to be an entity that we're summoning and conjuring, that's the hard line for me. And it's like, do we want to do this? And it's getting mixed up in all these other deities and other beings. I don't like that.
So are you
Um,
saying like you don't want to do that if it's involving other things? Because when you did the dweller one, that was specifically for the dweller.
well, here's the thing. The
Like
Dweller and the Threshold is a that wasn't my ritual.
yeah,
So
it wasn't ours. It was
I
someone else.
yeah, I didn't know half of what was being said in that ritual until after. Um, and that ritual was also censored for the film as well, which we don't censor stuff, um, or at least we don't like to. Um, I the Dweller to me, what might have gone wrong in the film, and I admit this, it stopped being a question of why are we experiencing the Dweller on Threshold, and it started to become what is it? And in order to answer what is this thing that is an entity on the threshold, in order to answer that, you need to summon it. Because if you go to a random haunted location, the Dweller, I don't think is going to be there.
Mm-mm.
Mm-mm.
So you have to summon it there. And I don't agree with summoning things or conjuring things. I think that's a bad idea. I don't. We even heard here. Don't summon Santa Claus. Don't summon Hat Man. Don't summon any of this stuff. Now, if Hat Man
I mean,
walked, go take let's take it to Hat Man. Would you ever summon Hat Man? I would advise against it. But if Hat Man walked in the room, would you talk to Hat Man? Do you understand how there's a difference there?
okay, so
I would
okay,
talk
so
to him
what
if he
I'm
walked
getting
in.
at, okay, so if example, okay, so what happens? Where goes hunting? Hat Man walks in. Would you
Yeah.
be willing to do a ritual to enhance the experience with Hat Man
N-
and to
no,
understand it
no,
better?
no. Because here's why. Two reasons. One, I I fully believe that a ritual needs to be prepared, and you need to know every single thing you're doing and why. So
Oh,
I
yes. Oh my God. Why did I not think this? I was thinking about that earlier. Yes.
you can't do a spontaneous ritual. If you do a spontaneous ritual, you're setting yourself up for failure. Because also the intention needs to be there too.
Mistakes too.
So yeah, and
Yeah.
you'd make mistakes. So no, I wouldn't. Also, I don't know that Hat Man is or isn't. I mean, we did a whole episode on this. So everyone, go
Yeah.
listen to episode 22. We talk about this. I don't know if the Hat Man what he is. So I don't know what kind of frameworks to use to try to grapple to understand him. But
Mm-hmm.
if Hat Man walks in the room, I will go up to him using whatever I have. If it's a spirit box or, an EMF meter, I will obviously try to talk to Hat Man if he walks in the room. I'm
Hmm.
not going to summon him or do a ritual on the spot.
No,
Yeah. That's
I think
fair.
that's just ill-advised
Mm-hmm.
to do that. Like in any circumstance, like
I
whether it's the
meant,
Hat Man or anything.
I
But
meant,
just go ahead.
no, I'm just saying, I'm just like, I understand what you're getting at, but I'm also at like a dilemma about that because it's like, I don't see what's wrong with trying to summon certain entities. I don't see what's wrong with it. I mean, if you want to try to figure out what something is, because it's been like popping up in your life lately or whatever, I don't see what's wrong with trying to summon it, doing a ritual to summon the thing to talk to it for it is for, you know?
And that's valid, but I think that's with the dweller specifically, which is what we're talking about here in this
Mm-hmm.
example. The dweller on the threshold is a metaphor historically for something telling you to stop and reassess. It's a roadblock, an obstacle that prevents you from moving forward.
Yeah. And if I
If
understood it
if
correctly too, from when this whole dweller stuff was happening too, it doesn't necessarily it might not even necessarily be a entity. It's
no, I mean that's the thing.
yeah.
It's it's one of those things that's like, is it an entity? Is it just a metaphor? Is it a bunch of entities? No one knows. But what
Could
wasn't
be
in the
all in your head.
film,
Yeah.
yeah, what wasn't in the film, I mean, kind of touched on in possession tape, but I think we talked about mostly on this podcast. The film Dweller only was one experience with the Dweller in the Threshold. We, specifically I, experienced the Dweller 3 times. So think about that. There's a thing, an
None were
experience.
very
No,
pleasant
but
necessarily.
this experience
Not
that
at
is
all,
supposed
actually.
to represent the thing that is preventing you from moving forward, the thing that is stopping you, it is an obstacle to overcome. Something to overcome. Be it an entity, be it just all these synchronicities and just life telling you, like, hey, stop, you're going down a bad path. Whatever, I don't care what it is. What is going to overcome this obstacle? Understanding what the dweller is, or understanding why it's happening. We did this film, we summoned the dweller. Hey, what are you? Experience it again. Hey, what are you? Experience it again. Hey, let's reframe this and ask why are these things happening and fix the things that are happening. And then guess what? No problem since. You see what I'm getting at?
Hmm.
I don't think things need to be summoned and brought somewhere to understand, because sometimes you need
Yeah.
to understand why and not what. I don't care what the dweller is. I care why is it happening. And you know what? Ever since, nothing's happened. And also, we use the dweller as kind of we all understand kind of like what it represents and stuff, and we use it as like a framework to like explain shit. Like we were talking about
Hmm.
owls, and we're like, oh, this gives dweller vibes. That's all we have to say, and we understand. You know what I'm saying? Like it's a framework
Hmm.
to understand shit. It doesn't need to be this entity you summon. So if we
Hmm.
want
Yeah.
to incorporate stuff that is reminiscent of this topic, if we're ever experiencing a dweller type of thing again, we know the frameworks and the archetypes to use if we want to kind of navigate the situation. I don't think there's, I mean, I don't care, Angela, if you ever are like, hey, I want to summon this, you're entitled to want to. I just don't think it's ever necessary.
True, it's not it's I would say it's never ever necessary, but like curious type of thing, you know? Like, okay, So, for example, our one of our new films that are out is about jocks, and we did a ritual, and it was specifically to call out to jocks or whatever the entity of that's inside of jocks is. What's the difference of that compared to what you're saying that you don't want to do?
I think what he's saying is the difference is like Jacques is already there. It's an entity that possesses that box. Like
Yes.
you're not summoning it like to a location. Like you already
True.
have that object that
We already
um
okay, like we already have it. I was just well,
yeah.
okay, yeah,
Okay, no,
I get that.
that's the difference. Going back to what I said initially, of if 99.999% of the time, and we have, for the listeners who are unaware, we have a collection of haunted objects. All but one is like a human entity. One is something that's literally told us it's not human, it's never
We
lived on
don't
this earth. It
yeah.
is something ancient and something we don't understand. And we have this, it's in our house.
Mhm.
So, in that case, that is different than this occult random. Open a book and pick a random occult topic and summon that to your
But
apartment. That's different.
what
It's
what I
already
was
there.
getting at is that well, for my understanding with jocks is that there's jocks. There's jocks and jocks is and then there's 27, which is the entity or the entities that are inside of jocks that jocks is guarding from keeping like that's guarding them from escaping.
In this film, we did this ritual to just the whole point of this ritual was just enhance communication, right? It was just literally
Yeah.
weeks of prepping and choosing archetypes and setting intention to do this little ritual to communicate. We called it elevated communication. And in this session, it said there was Jock's the entity, and then there were 27 others inside of him that he was kind of like preventing from talking
Escaping.
to us.
Yeah.
Escaping is a good word, but
But the thing is that jocks is in our house. I don't think 27 is necessarily in this house. I
No.
think 27 is Jocks is a gateway for 27 to come out, but
He's a
it's
conduit.
not necessarily, yeah, it's not necessarily always here. So
Yeah.
when we did that ritual and we were calling out specifically to what is in Jocks 27 that isn't necessarily always there, I feel like we were still conjuring that from coming, like to talk.
I would disagree because whether or not like those 27 are there all the time, Jocks is the conduit for it.
mhm.
You're not going to a random place and doing a ritual to summon these 27. You are using the conduit that like is represented or has that continual contact with that. Like
And
it is different. It's like going to a location that has a known like haunting
Mhm.
and you're summoning it there. Like whether
Yeah.
that haunting is seen all the time at that location, because it probably isn't. Like if you go to that location and try to summon it or do a ritual, that's different from like, oh, I'm gonna try to summon this thing from this location in my house and try to
Mhm.
interact with it.
I mean, it's yeah. To
I get
Bree's
what you're
point, it's the
saying.
difference of like if we go to Stimson Hospital and we use this all the time as an example because we go there often. The main
Mhm.
ghost there is Frank Blanchard. Okay, so if we go to Stimson Hospital and we're downstairs and we say, "Hey Frank, if you're here, can you come down to the basement?" That's, I mean, that's not summoning, but that's calling him to come to
Yeah.
a room.
That's
Mm-hmm.
fair. I
If
get
if
what you're
we're if
saying.
we're at Madison Seminary and we say let's summon Frank Blanchard, that's different.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Mm-hmm.
yeah, that would just wouldn't make
Yeah.
sense.
So if you think about it in that sense, Jacques is a haunted location.
That's a good way
So
to think about
if
it.
you think of Jacques as more of a haunted location than a haunted object, it makes
Mhm.
sense to
Makes
try to
sense.
communicate with the 27 or the
Yeah.
7.
It's just
Wait,
yeah.
wait, 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 wait. So
That might be how
If
I have to think about Jocks from now on. Jocks is a haunted location and not an object. He is a house to a bunch of different entities right now.
what we got out of this ritual and like other communications is that Jocks identifies as a number 7, and
Hmm.
the entity or entities that I guess are inside Jocks that he
Yeah,
kind of
best way
doesn't
to
let
put it.
out are 27.
Yeah, 27.
So if his name is Jocks, but he identifies as 7, is 7 his address?
Yes.
If he's a haunted location? No, but no, is that why ghosts aren't always present? Is because they have different addresses, like different think about like different planes of existence or dimensions. Is that the address? Is that we have to is that
Maybe.
the cheese layer?
Well,
Hmm.
I don't think 7 is the ghost address. Isn't 7 what we realized? Because there's like different levels to entities, and Jocks is at a level 7.
Wait, this is going back to the
And
cheese layers though, because cheese
remember
layer
also
instead of cheese, there's Brianna likes or prefers the
The
apartment
apartments.
buildings. And if there's
Hmm.
different levels to spirits in the hierarchies, different levels of a building, different dimensions, different planes, that is his address. 7.
different. Okay,
Hmm.
that makes sense. Makes sense.
Hmm. I don't know how to feel about that. It is interesting, but it's, it's a little bit of a tangent.
No, very very much so. But did any of what I was rambling about make sense?
Yes, it
Yes.
does make sense.
Okay, and so Angela, before we get to Brie, Angela, if you want to is there anything you wanted to clarify on like what you agree with, disagree with, want to add, want to clarify, or
No, I mean,
What are your limits?
yeah, what are your limits?
I mean, I don't know if I necessarily really have too many limits. But I guess my limit is like I know your limit, Ben, is to not just summon random things or whatever,
And to know
and
what you're talking about.
you know what you're talking about. I mean, I don't really see that as my limit because I'm willing to do that only if it's appropriate, but it is very important that it is planned. When we did the like I don't think I would ever do a ritual that is just planned on a whim. You do it right there on it like like
Hey, let's do a ritual.
yeah, like no, no. Sorry, I can't talk good. But when we did the Jocks ritual, I was planning this for like a week straight. I was getting my like I would work on this often, like throughout the week. I'd put myself in the mindset of Jocks, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
I think have doing a ritual, it's really important to have put yourself in the mindset beforehand still and not the moment of.
Some people would argue that prepping for a ritual and putting yourself in the shoes of who you're trying to talk to and that hyper, that form of hyper elevated intention setting, that your ritual is already done. That's the ritual. Just getting in that mindset. That's essentially just really strong meditation and setting of intention, and everything you do after that is just kind of
Well,
theater.
I see it as like a build up to the actual thing,
Yeah, but it's
you know.
necessary to do that. And
I think it
also,
is necessary.
would you agree, Ange, that everything you say or do and everything you use in the ritual, you need to be able to explain in many words and sentences why you're saying that and why you're doing that? Or
Hmm.
do you think if you're ever at a ritual or taking part in a ritual and say, "Hey, why did you say that? What does it mean?" And they say, "Oh, I don't know." Is
Yeah, well,
that
I think it's that's important because I said mindset is very important. And when it comes to mindsets, you have representations, things that represent what's you're trying to do. You know, that's part of a mindset. And
Hmm.
so, like when we did the Jocks ritual, throughout the week, I was just like adding notes of different things that we could do for it and whatever. And it turned out to be like 3 pages long, full of different notes and stuff, all that related to Jocks of and what we wanted to do. and nothing else. There was absolutely nothing else in there to be like, oh, this would be really cool to do, but there was no point in adding it. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And the script for the film, I mean, the film's only 27 minutes long. Coincidence? But there's a version that could be like an hour, just because the original script over explained every single thing that was being said, because nothing was cut out of this. Like, that's another thing too with the rituals. I'm weary of people that are hesitant to put something out, because there's two reasons I found, doing many rituals, like I've said. There are two reasons people tend to cite as to why they don't want their ritual kind of filmed at all or even put in a project. One, they're worried that it might like summon something into people's house watching it, which is really strange to me. And the other thing is people are like, I don't want people to judge. I don't want people,
Yeah.
I'm not confident that I
It's
did it right.
yeah,
You're
I
not
mean
confident. You were
that's what I was
doing
worried
it.
about.
You're confident doing it. And then when you go to put it on a screen, then you're like, I
It's
shouldn't have done that. What?
it's
So
not that okay, so it's not I don't think
put everything out there. Be
it's
vulnerable.
right it's right to the person who's doing it, but there could
Exactly.
be a person who's watching it who's a very strict person with how they do their rituals and have a yes and no list of what you can and cannot do. And he saw this one little thing that we did and being like, oh, you fucked up bad now. That's not a true fucking ritual.
Yeah,
Like,
I don't care. Someone,
I don't care. I don't care.
anyone
But
can watch what we do and say,
yeah,
I would have done that differently, and they're
yeah.
100% valid, 100%. But what I don't want anyone to be able to say is they didn't know why they were doing that, or they didn't know what they were doing. I think that's a
Or
very important distinction. You can
yeah.
disagree, and I want people to disagree. I also want to put things out there and be vulnerable and put it out as it happens, and also show we're not hiding stuff. We're not summoning anything. All this ritual, and I say ritual in quotes, for Jacques was just, like I said, elevated communication, elevated intent, and elevated um, just setting of mindset. Uh, call it meditation, whatever. And I think it just resulted in a really good channeling session, which I'm okay to do
It
with
was a
people I
good channeling
trust
scene. Yeah.
in environments I trust. Um, and what we filmed with Jocks, that's like the ultimate ritual to me. I would hesitate to do anything more extreme than that. Um, and I would do something like that again if and when a situation calls for it.
Yeah, it's appropriate.
I don't, because like I said,
Like, yeah.
like I said, this is a um
Here's a good example. Like I'm all I'd be all for like trying like doing a ritual to summon certain things. Like I would love to do a ritual that would summon Santa Claus or the Hat Man, but I would never do that because there's no point to doing it.
Yeah.
There's not,
Yeah,
you know?
and also here's another thing too, and I think we're gonna let Bree talk in a second. I think Bree is gonna want to say something to this effect, and I'll just reiterate this too. Um, not we've said it a million times. I'm gonna say it a million more. Not everything needs a ritual,
Hmm.
and I know that things are skewed when we do all these investigations behind the scenes, and we only film a few. It can seem skewed when you have like two or three back to back that are ritual heavy, and then one that's not. I'm cognizant of that. I think that with the rebrand to Crossroads of Curiosities, I think I really want to do a lot more variety of the topics we tackle and what we flesh into films, and kind of hit it all, even fiction stuff, if the time comes.
Hmm.
So um, I think there's a place for everything. I do think, like I said, that this is like a muscle that you need to work out. And if that's doing a tarot spread, do a tarot spread. If you do a ritual, you do a ritual. I think there's a place where if it, I'm not, I don't ever want to see, what I'm saying is I don't ever want to seek out and be like, hey guys, it's been two films and we haven't done a ritual. Let's create a situation where we need to do one. I don't think you find rituals. I think the situations where you need one will find you, and it's
Hmm.
one in a
Agreed.
hundred. It's one in a hundred, and if it ever seems like, I don't know, to anyone listening, like, oh, they say 1 in 100, but they do rituals all the time. That's just because those tend to
Have
be
we
the
showed that stuff?
stories. Those tend to
Yeah.
be um, the ones that we turn into films that, are good stories, that are powerful stories that, is a good framework to tell a story.
Hmm.
But
But I mean,
anyways,
I think people like we said during this episode, like not all rituals are for summoning things. Sometimes some rituals are for what's the word? Good luck or something like that. You know what I mean? Like good luck in your life. And people might do a small little ritual um during the start of a day or something.
And that's why
Like,
they call them daily rituals.
yeah, yeah. So, I mean, would you say something like that is like shouldn't do during all the like God, my God, why can't I talk? Would you say, Ben, that is something that people shouldn't do all day? Like not all day, but like every day.
I'm not
Like,
anti-ritual at all.
well, you were
It
saying like there
That's
it should.
good. Yeah, you're not summoning shit. You don't wake up and summon Hat Man.
Oh, yeah, I know, but you were saying like you should only do like a ritual when the time comes, and that's like 1 in 100. But like,
I
what
feel
about?
like your daily rituals are different from like
That's
an
not what we're talking about. Engaging, using a ritual to engage with the spirit.
yeah.
You're talking
So
about specifically that type. I
yeah,
always
yeah.
thought you were talking
Hmm.
about
Specifically,
rituals as a whole.
when you're on a paranormal investigation,
Mm-hmm.
when, if ever, should you swap out the spirit box for a ritual? That's what I'm saying. And I think
Spirit
that's
box
what,
and ritual together.
well, sure, even better. Even better in some situations. But I don't think any of your daily rituals probably entail summoning things or like talking with entities or
You never know. There might be
you
a
never know.
person
I
out
mean,
there.
if I don't care, I don't have daily rituals, so I don't care if someone does.
I mean, you could
It's
consider
probably
brushing
good.
your teeth every morning a daily ritual.
Sure.
Yeah, but
So
that's not what I
to
meant though.
yeah, yeah, but that's a good segue, Bree. When does brushing your teeth as a daily ritual turn into, I mean, what are your limits? And I am also curious, what did anything I say make sense? What do you agree with,
Yeah.
disagree with?
Yeah,
Because I'm done talking. I'm done
I feel
talking.
like yeah, I've definitely been a lot more quiet compared to you guys so far.
Yeah, we need to hear your
Because
opinion
yeah,
about
because
this.
I mean I do have a lot of different opinions. Um, but I also agree in a lot of places too. Like I do think I of course I don't think a ritual is ever really needed. I'll just leave it at that. I've grown up very religious. I was raised Catholic, and a lot of the stuff that we do is considered like a sin. Do I see it that way? Not really. But like communicating with the dead, using tarot cards, all of that is seen as not stuff you should do.
Mhm.
Um, but I do have harder limits than you guys. Like I won't use a Ouija board, and that in itself is a kind of ritual. Um, I don't think like yes, you could consider spirit box a sort of ritual, but is it really? Maybe. I don't consider it like that's something I'll do without a thought, but anything where I'm purposely like we're purposely trying to um use means outside of the norm to communicate and open doors to something that we don't fully understand is a hard pass for me. Like,
Yeah.
and I'm not gonna say you guys shouldn't do it. Like, but I'm definitely not gonna encourage it. But I'm not
I
gonna tell you guys to not do it. Like when Angela was prepping for Jacques and everything, I'm like, yeah, send me your notes. I want to see what you're doing. But also that's because I want to know you guys are being safe too.
Making sure we're being responsible about
Responsible.
it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I feel like I'm a mom. sometimes.
You're
But
you're the
that's
HR manager.
yeah,
You
I'm
got
the
to make
HR
sure
Yeah.
your
manager.
employee. This is our employee
Like I don't
checkup.
want to be filling out any OSHA forms, guys.
Yeah.
Like
Brianna's the type of person who would like take us aside and be like little slap on the cheek, being
yeah, I'd be
like,
like, hey,
"You're
hey,
aware of what you're
Hey,
doing."
I do have a question for you, Bree,
yeah.
because I think I very much agree that not every mystery needs to be solved.
Yeah, I believe not every mystery
No,
needs to be
Yes,
solved.
exactly.
Like,
it
But
bugs me so
I
bad. But yes, not everything needs to be
I want to
solved.
know because
Kills me.
you did say you're against opening doors to communicate with things we don't understand. Which does that apply to? Because I'm extrapolating that the blanket, phrase of "I'm Bree, I'm against talking to inhuman entities or engaging with inhuman entities." Is that just an accurate way to put? Is it that you're
I to an extent,
anti? Okay,
yeah, to an extent. Like, I'm not gonna if we go to a haunted location and there is a entity that is inhuman that we start communicating with it. Am
is
I
that a hard
necessarily
stop?
gonna stop in the moment? I don't think so, because if we're being responsible and we're not taking that further step of, oh, I'm gonna start lighting some candles or um doing a ritual, like I don't think there's a need to hard stop. If things start happening and things start presenting more negatively and things seem like they're taking a turn for something we shouldn't be doing, I'm gonna be like, hard no. Like, we're gonna move on. Um and take a minute to refocus and possibly like decide if we want to continue or leave. Like, um, I mean, we haven't had any circumstances like that I can think of, but um, I don't think when it comes to that sort of situation, I'm gonna be like, oh, inhuman entity, bye. I'm not gonna talk to you. Like,
It makes a lot of sense actually what you're saying of you're anything that's you choosing to engage unless you're 100% sure who you're talking to or what you're talking to.
mm-hmm,
Anything that's you like choosing to initiate conversation, that is very much different than you walking through a haunted location because like a lot of what you're doing when investigating, you're just walking around observing, being in
mm-hmm,
these liminal spaces where things are more likely to happen.
yeah,
Walking through and having this stuff happen around you is
mm-hmm,
different, even if you know there's a risk of the same stuff attaching to you, or if it
yeah,
isn't human, it can attack you. But at least you
mm-hmm.
didn't say, "Hi, I'm
Invite it
Brianna."
in, yeah. And I
Yeah.
mean, I don't know if you guys have like ever really noticed on investigations, but like one thing that I actually try to not do is like this is kind of different, but like I try to not really introduce myself.
No, you don't. Ever
Like
since that one time
I
years
don't I
ago.
don't introduce myself because that is giving if for some reason what we're talking to happens to be something inhuman. I don't
Mm-hmm.
want them to know my name.
That's fair.
And And I think doing that in itself, introducing yourself, is kind of opening a door.
And also, it was a really I didn't even notice this until what I alluded to years ago. We were doing an investigation, and it just remember it was at Riverbend, and it just said,
Hmm.
"Hi, Brianna." We didn't
Yep.
even say anything. It just said,
I,
"Hi,
yeah.
Brianna," and you just said, "I
Hmm.
didn't introduce myself." I'm like, "Oh
Yeah.
shit, that's a
Yeah.
good indicator."
Yeah, I had introduced myself a lot of the time. If I do introduce myself, I introduce myself as Bree because it's not my full name.
That's a good
Hmm.
indicator too that something might be a little inhuman.
Exactly. And like we did have that happen a few times after that, but I haven't had that happen in a long time. But I also stopped introducing myself too. So like I think that I have more limits because one of my religious background and two because I have had that sort of thing happen where I've introduced myself and have had like I never had anything negative happen to me, but the fact that something knew my name and I
Mm-hmm.
hadn't introduced myself is a hard no. I'm like,
You're like,
done
I
with
don't
that.
like that. How do you know that?
Exactly. So
Yeah.
I feel like you
Like I
got
said, I'm
touched that
huh?
investigation too. Didn't it like touch you? So it like kind of invaded your space a little bit too.
I don't remember if it did or not.
Yeah, I'm not. Maybe I'm getting it mixed up, but still, like
It's
that whole
possible.
investigation was a
Yeah.
little.
Yeah, because it was also super random because like it did not seem like a place that should have been haunted.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, it was very interesting. But yeah, like I said, I I'm not going to go out and try to do a ritual or write a ritual or participate in a ritual, but I'm not going to stop anyone from doing it. I'm going to advise, I wouldn't do that. But I'm not going to be like, no, don't do that. Unless you're doing something stupid.
That's fair.
Like
right.
trying to summon the Hat Man or Santa.
Yeah, and even when we did a ritual for jocks, we took it to the middle of the woods,
Yeah,
not in our house,
yeah.
because everything has a risk, and
hmm
you, like I
Like,
said, you need to understand why you're doing it and also why someone might not.
yeah.
And
Yeah, and that's what I think. Everything has a risk. And even if you are the most prepared, you could have like planned it for weeks or months even. Anything could happen. You're
Mm-hmm.
dealing with an unknown.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Who's to say the unknown isn't going to look at your rules and your plans and everything and be like, I don't care about that. You
Give
summoned
us,
me here.
yeah, give us a the big middle finger and be like,
Exactly.
yeah.
So I think, like you said, and like I've said, some things are fine to be left as mysteries and don't need to be taken further. If something wants to talk to us through a spirit box, awesome. Cool. Love that for us. I don't think we necessarily need to do a ritual to speak to it more. Like, if it has the energy and the intention to speak with us, it's going to.
that's
So,
fair. And I think there's one. I think I don't think the occult is evil. I don't think anyone is
mm-mm.
saying that. I think it's a
No,
framework.
yeah,
I think it's a framework that um 1 in 100 times, if prepared for in advance and you know you're going to be interacting with something where these frameworks might be a benefit, I think something like, but not more than what we did in the Jocks film is necessary if
yeah,
discussed in advance, planned in advance,
yeah,
and known in advance, and is a rare and special thing
hmm
once in a blue moon.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
I
Gotta
it
make
it
it
just it
special.
just kind of
Yes.
reminds me of like the one thing I kept thinking like I said, you could be totally prepared and things could still go wrong. It
Mm-hmm.
reminds me of this one scene in a movie. I don't remember which movie it is, but it was some sort of vampire movie. And some guy like was
Yeah.
like, "Oh my God, it's a vampire." And he had every single um like religious object that's supposed to like ward off vampires and he'd hold up one and it would do nothing so he'd fumble through his bag and hold up another still would do nothing and he just kept doing it and nothing was working because it didn't care like
Yeah.
it didn't follow the rules of what was written like it still ended up eating him.
Well, when we were in New
Good for
Orleans,
the
I
vampire.
wouldn't let Angela try to find vampires. Like that was a
Yeah,
hard
thank
limit.
God. Yeah.
Yeah, no
I was
summoning or even engaging with vampires.
I was doing extensive research to try to find where the vampire hangouts are.
No.
I was like,
Maybe that's a topic for another day.
Ben was
Yeah.
like, was not allowing. I
Yeah.
was wanting to try to find a vampire, and then we bring it on the podcast.
As HR manager, I said
Yeah.
that was ill-advised and I would not sign off on it.
See, even this is what I was saying at the top of this, and unless any final anything we want to put on the record before we touch base again about this later.
I think like we've shared all of our
I,
thoughts. I think we're all at where we
I'm,
thought we were at the beginning of this, but it's always
I,
good to have that touch base and say it out loud too.
yeah, I'm curious though from you guys because,
hmm
especially you, Bru, because I'm not quite sure what the answer to this might be. Do you think all unhuman, non-human entities are bad or evil?
That's a good question. Because
Because if it's good, would that change if you'd be more willing to like talk to it
so that's the thing,
more deeper?
is looking at it religiously, all spirits are bad. All entities are bad. All things are trying to trick you. So
Yes,
even if
I
it's
get
presenting
told that
as
all the
good,
time. Yeah.
it's possibly bad.
Yeah, and I mean
Do
that's like a thing
but
you never know though.
yeah,
That is
but
strange.
we have had like interacted with like more of elemental or naturalistic entities,
Mm-hmm.
like something that came from nature. Is that inherently bad? I don't know.
I think
I
that's what I would say too, is I don't think any inhuman spirits are good or bad, and I
Yeah.
think you need to approach each one knowing why one person might view it as good and another might view the same thing as bad.
hmm
Like
hmm
I'm fully aware someone can watch the Jocks film and be like, "What the
That's
hell were
evil
you
or that's
doing?
human.
That is
Yeah.
one evil entity you're talking to," you know? s-
Yeah.
so someone can always, I don't think there's good or bad with the inhuman type of stuff, and I think you need to understand the nuance of why someone might think it is good, why someone might think it is bad. And to Bree's point too, I think you got to be consistent about it, like Bree, and either talk to them all or talk to none of them.
Talk to all or talk to none.
Yeah, you can't cherry pick. This inhuman is good. This inhuman is bad because you. There's going to be someone that says that that's evil. You know,
hmm
like,
hmm
oh, it's a good inhuman, and someone else says it's evil. You got to understand there's nuance. So be like
Yeah.
Bree.
That'd be hard for me. I mean, I love you, Brie, but I'm too curious of a person to just not talk to any of them.
But like I said, we don't even agree. I'll bring it up to the top. Like I said, it's good that we don't agree on anything, even down to the fact that everyone on planet Earth knows it's a terrible idea for Angela to go chasing vampires her first night in New Orleans, having never been down there before.
Yeah, it doesn't sound smart
Vampire
when you put it that
contact,
way.
bad idea. Angela, she's
We
part of us.
also
She thinks it's great.
we have been
Even
warned
that,
by a lot of people though who do believe in vampires and they are in New Orleans that they are not good people and you should stay away from them. But me, I still want to go out and try to find them.
yeah, we can't even.
I talk to them. I want to understand their mindsets.
We'll save the vampire. We'll save vampires for a different topic. We'll talk about that down the road.
hmm
Um, but
We
just know, even
yeah.
something like vampires, we can't all agree on. Even we talk about cheese, we can't agree on. Like we all have all these nuanced views and different views, which most paranormal teams, they'll all be like, "Listen, on this team, fill out this application card. If your favorite cheese isn't brie, hashtag be like Brie, or get out of here. You know,
I couldn't relieve it.
Relieve it.
Yep.
Uncle Bunkable.
Uncle Bunkable.
We're ending with a sigh. Are you kidding me?
You could have just ended it on Uncle Bunkable before the sigh.
No.
Okay.
Thanks for listening to this week's episode of Paranormal Lens. If you liked what you heard, every 5-star rating and positive review tells the algorithms we're a worthy podcast and pushes us out to more listeners. We appreciate each and every one of you, and we'll see you next Thursday for another paranormal deep dive.